Hello, I'm LegenTerry, and this very familiar looking game is Minecraft Legends, Mojang and Blackbird Interactive's take on the real-time strategy formula set within Minecraft's world. It was published by Microsoft, the current owners of Mojang, and is currently available on all of the major platforms. The original Minecraft has been around for a very long time, 13 years in fact. If you're here, you probably already know what it is. While it once was the product of a very small team of indie developers, it has since become a worldwide phenomenon. It impressed with its ability to give creatives the tools to make cool things with almost limitless possibility, basically being a set of Lego bricks bound to the logic of a video game world. Flash forwards to 2014, Mojang Studios and Minecraft have been acquired by Microsoft, the giant who stands behind the Windows operating system and the Xbox brand. The popularity of the game continues to grow, and it gets updated and modded for years on end. As more games that lean into the player's creativity, like Roblox and Fortnite, begin to crop up, Microsoft decides that it's time to expand the scope of what Minecraft's world can be by inserting it into other genres. It began in 2015 when Microsoft shared the IP with Telltale Games, creating the spin-off game Minecraft Story Mode. Being a narrative-driven visual novel similar to Telltale's past endeavors, it was a massive departure from what Minecraft was originally, but it wasn't terrible, just pretty middling. Microsoft would continue to use the IP in new ways with Minecraft Dungeons in 2020, a simple and surprisingly well-realized ARPG in the vein of Diablo. It was released in a pretty basic state, but was updated with more mechanics and content variety over time. I actually really like this one. It gave me and my nephew lots of enjoyable hours, and I would go as far to say that it's a bit of a hidden gem now. And now on the heels of Dungeons comes Minecraft Legends, Mojang and Blackbird's friendly answer to the RTS genre. Though I'm not a Minecraft fanatic like a large, often younger corner of the internet is, I've always been able to appreciate the franchise and have dipped my toes in from time to time. I still remember playing what was probably the alpha with friends around the time I graduated high school. Real-time strategy games, on the other hand, I've never been able to firmly get a grasp on. The genre has a habit of feeling like an impenetrable wall to those of us who didn't grow up with a keyboard at our fingertips. I've tried many times only to be dissuaded by the obtuse mechanics, the heavy amounts of micromanagement, and the deep time investment required to truly learn anything worthwhile. Don't get mad, I'm not calling your favorite genre of game bad, I'm just saying that it's not my favorite flavor. So with that in mind, how do I feel about Minecraft Legends? Let's start with the story, as it's probably necessary to divulge the rest of the game's mechanics. Surprisingly enough, the game begins with a bit of lore about the creation of the Minecraft world, which I don't think has ever been put front and center, only alluded to with hints and outside information. I'm sure MatPat and his team over at Game Theory are going to be thrilled. The world is completely at peace when a portal appears and an army of piglins pour out from the nether. Three beings known as Foresight, Knowledge, and Action watch from a different plane of existence as the overworld is attacked and decide that a hero must be given the tools to repel these invaders. You play as a traditional Minecraft player character who's asked for help by these three godly figures and plucked from your mining adventure. They guide you through a tutorial that explains the way you collect resources, build items, and amass forces for combat in the game before dropping you into the overworld to defend a town of villagers. Something that stands out right away is that the voice acting is actually really solid, which I don't anticipate many people thinking about or expecting from a spin-off game centering on Minecraft. I really like the playfulness and the tone of the three deities, especially Knowledge, portrayed by Elroy Powell. I'm not super familiar with him, but he's noted as a prominent British singer, songwriter, and producer on Wikipedia. Apparently, he also recently played Jackmat, the leader of the Peacekeepers faction in Dying Light 2's campaign, so some of you may recognize his work from there. Sticking with the cutscenes, all the animation is very over the top and charming as one would come to expect. Your character being introduced through a first-person segment where they nod by crouching and agree to help fight by switching through their equipped items to a sword, swinging and jumping wildly, is very silly and nostalgic of the source material in a good way. Technically speaking, I'm not sure what's happening with the cutscenes though. It's probably just a small patch away from being fine, as I remember it often happening in Minecraft Dungeons as well. But for some reason the pre-rendered ones have weird frame pacing or were recorded at a lower FPS that makes them feel slightly nauseating to watch. It doesn't happen at all during gameplay, which is the most important part, so it doesn't matter very much. But it is kind of a stain on the game's otherwise fun presentation. Know what else could be fun? Hitting those like and subscribe buttons down below. It would really help me build a better channel. Anyways. As they say, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and visually, the Minecraft spin-off doesn't fall far from the Minecraft. Legends' visual identity is basically exactly what you've seen for the last 13 years with the addition of some new baddies, new friendlies, and new structures in the same style. There has been some small amount of tweaking done to the overall look of the game, with a black outline present around all of the edges of the voxels, but it sort of melds into the background as you begin playing and you'll quickly forget it's there. I think they probably did this to make the units stand out more against the world so you can see where things are more easily with the sweeping third-person camera. It's the same tactic Masahiro Sakurai's team employed when creating Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS because the screen was so small that it made characters difficult to see on large stages. Let's move on to gameplay, shall we? This is where things get complicated. I kind of feel like the formula that Minecraft Legends wanted to emulate was Nintendo's Pikmin series, but they didn't have quite enough finesse to carry them that far. Where Pikmin is very good at simplifying the RTS genre down to the most basic mechanics, Legends clumsily stumbles its way to the finish line. While Minecraft Legends is by nature a simplified version of the RTS genre, it still very much feels overwhelming at times. There are about a dozen combinations of buttons to be pressed to access different menus and submenus, so if you or your kid gets easily frustrated by clumsy controls, you might be in for a bumpy ride. At the very core of the mechanics is the necessary act of resource gathering. This is accomplished by sending out little fairy creatures known as LAs to slowly collect wood, stone, iron, and more from areas in the overworld. You have a set amount of these LAs to send out, and they automatically return to you upon completion of their given task. The LAs are also what allow you to build, as you can use your resources to select a unit spawner, or structure to place on the ground, for them to piece together over time. Smaller, less important structures take only moments, while things like walls and towers take a little bit longer to generate. A lot of this is easier said than done because of the controls, at least when using a controller. Each resource to be gathered is split between different buttons on an action bar. So if you want to gather wood from an area, you need to have the correct action bar opened with the D-pad, move the cursor to the gather wood button on the action bar using the bumpers, then hold the left trigger and aim a radius of where the LA will look, and then finally press the right trigger to confirm. This is literally the simplest action in the game, and it sucks that it takes a whole paragraph to explain. Let's say that you want to build a unit spawner, spawn some units, and have them follow you. It starts with the same process. Switch the D-pad action bar, select the spawner you want with the bumpers, aim it with the left trigger, and confirm with the right. Now you wait until it's built, these only take a second or two, walk over top of it, hold down Y and spend resources until you have the amount of units that you want. But then they just stand there. So you have to stand near them, press X to rally them with your magical loot, and then you're finally good. Until you enter combat. Now it gets really tricky. When you enter an enemy's camp or stronghold, you basically have one option: fight collectively with all of your units at once, or run away. Whenever you press Y with your units following you, they all rush forwards and attack whatever happens to get in their way. Later on, the trio of friendly gods casually mention that you can send one unit at a time by switching to command mode by holding the right trigger, selecting the unit type from a submenu, and pressing either B or Y, but this feels very sluggish and pointless unless you have a large unit in desperate need of direction. What's more useful is holding down B or Y, which sends out all of your selected units of one type to your target at once. But it takes a lot of controller maneuvering to use this function. It does become pretty essential for dividing up your units into ranged and melee attackers for structures like the Nether Spreaders, which shoot an AoE blast out around themselves every few seconds. It's also good for getting units like the Mossy Golem, who acts as a healer where they need to be on the battlefield. Something that Minecraft Legends pulls off better than Pikmin is giving the player more agency as an individual. While your units are busy planking away at their targets, you can split off from them and swing your sword at smaller enemies with the B button to prevent them from interfering. It's not very effective against large enemies, but it can serve as a distraction to keep your units safe as they handle their own business. Early on, most resource gathering actions and building actions have been smartly divided into two distinct parts of the game. This prevents newer players from getting overwhelmed with options, as you really only need to focus on one action bar at a time. Later on, you'll be able to unlock an upgrade that cures Netherrack, the red plague-like blocks that piglin settlements take root on, back into grassy terrain. This allows you to build on top of it, which means you can set up unit spawners, or towers, or even traps to push the piglin army further back into the heart of their camps. Oh yeah, the building. Every in-game night, the piglins will either choose a village or a fast travel tower to try and destroy at random, or will instead choose to upgrade one of their own forts with new structures and more enemy spawners. So you get access to a small amount of prefabricated structures to get around the battlefields and to fortify your own villages with. Fences and arrow towers can be lined around villages to defend against invasions, and you can set up carpentry and masonry buildings to heal and improve the walls and towers respectively. When you're out in the field, you can build ramps that allow you to climb to higher ground. something that becomes paramount to taking out enemy bases which are set up on plateaus with no other way up. Sadly, the devs didn't think to include a snapping function to crafted walls, gates, or towers, which is probably my biggest complaint about the building system. If you want to set up a perimeter with a wall around your village, you need to be pinpoint accurate with the ends, or you'll be left with a pig-sized gap in between them. And if you forgot to build a gate, oopsie, you'll have to stand in front of each individual wall, wait for the hold Y to remove button prompt to appear, and painstakingly move from one side of the wall to the other until you make a large enough gap to place the gate. Additionally, back at the center of the map is your home base, the Well of Fate. Here there are small areas that allow you to build upgrade nodes within them that make gameplay a little bit more interesting. These can give you more resource storage, allow you to collect different types of resources, give your village defending structures more speed or durability, give you the ability to spawn more units, and the list goes on. Alright, we covered building and battling, now we can talk exploration. Unlike traditional Minecraft maps, Minecraft Legends campaign map is handcrafted and persistent. It won't change from playthrough to playthrough. That doesn't mean that exploration doesn't play a key role in this game though. Legends expects you to take time between fights to check out new areas and biomes that can provide you with benefits. You might find a new kind of mount to replace your traditional horse, like a tiger that's extremely fast, or a bird that can leap and float over walls. You can find a new species to recruit to your side, which will become smaller units, or towers that give you devastating power, like striking down lightning or shooting freezing ice chunks at nearby enemies. So yeah, as you can probably tell, there's a lot of things that Legends does right, and a lot that it could do better. There is fun to be had here, but it feels limited by Mojang's inability to build a comprehensive control scheme for the type of game that it is. You can tell that they really wanted to make this great and put their heart into it, but I think that they should have left it in the playtesting oven for a few extra months for feedback on the user experience. My final words on Minecraft Legends: it's an interesting take on the RTS genre that could work, but at the moment feels too incomplete to recommend. If you're thinking about playing the game, you may want to wait a while until the developers adjust some of the mechanics to be more user-friendly so you can have the smoother first experience. Of course, if you want to try it for yourself and already have access to Game Pass, it's practically free anyways. The choice is yours.